Welcome and thank you everyone for joining us for another Twitter Space. It is July 1st, and this is episode number 4 of the ledgerscale Internet Value Open Forum. I just want to say that ledgerscale was founded with 2 goals in mind. One, we want to provide educational services to not only to scale up the number of brains that understand how distributed ledger technology works in the community, and 2, we intend to one day run hardware to provide infrastructural support to the distributed ledger technology networks that we believe are ESG friendly and running a form of decentralized consensus. We host these spaces Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, starting at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, and we typically keep them around 2 hours. And on Wednesday, we host a 1-hour space from 5 to 6 Eastern Standard Time, and we do that as a focused topic space. If you could just give us a follow on Twitter and a subscribe on YouTube, because we stream these spaces directly to YouTube every day from Twitter.
So basically, we're here to engage the community, and please, if anybody has a question or something you're curious about, raise your hand, speak up. Can't encourage that more. And then this is an open forum, but if you do speak up, just please be cordial and welcome to the space. And there's quite a bit to talk about today, actually. I don't know if anybody else saw the automated market maker stuff on GitHub. I'm still kind of trying to digest it. Personally, I've read a little bit of it, but not all. Is anybody else taking a look at that?
Sorry, what was that?
You know how we were talking a few chats back about the automated market maker that David Schwartz or Joel Katz, whatever you want to call him, was talking about? And I've like been racking my brain and not able to figure it out. And so yeah, they finally put stuff out yesterday, late last night. Oh, wait, where did it go? Hold on. I'm going to try and pull it up here.
Yeah, you're talking about the amendment they're proposing. It's like it's what he referenced as the secret sauce to the change to the adding like an automated market maker ability to the XRP ledger.
Yeah, that's going to be a big deal. Hang on, where did it go? I lost it. I haven't read the whole thing yet. Oh, let's see here. I think it is leveraging the pathfinding. It's a GitHub link. Here we go. So hold on a second. I'm trying to pull this up. Man, Twitter makes this stuff ridiculously difficult. It always opens things up in Twitter. I don't always want to look at things in Twitter. Give me the real website. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna need to do more reading here. Okay, I'm just scanning it. Conical transaction ordering. Okay, cool. They're using a geometric mean market maker. That was the part that I was like, wait a second. I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit more. That's the only formula I'm seeing here. No. The spot price. Okay. Yeah, this is going to take some time to digest. Here, let me see if I can share it, and then everybody can. I'll throw it up at the top.
Yeah, and please feel free if you guys want to come up and speak on anything. You have questions on, and please hit that request at the bottom left, and if you could at the bottom right, if you could retweet the space so we can get more people in here, get more conversation going. What's up, Anonymous? How you doing today?
Hey guys, pretty good. A lot of news coming today. Flare being one of them. The whole Oracle system. Yeah, but I've not checked out. Obviously, some people will know what AMM is, Automated Market Maker. Some people won't, and the same with pathfinding. So I'm guessing pathfinding is like an AI. Would that be correct?
No, it's not an AI. It's just a basically it's a formula that
true.
Huh?
Finds the quickest route.
Correct, for the transaction to occur.
Well, not quickest. It finds the highest quality. I forget if it optimizes for high or low. I think it's high. But if you don't know the concept of quality on the XRP ledger, we can go over that. That's certainly a very important concept. But it finds basically the cheapest route where you can move the liquidity through the network from point A to point B, with the maximum amount of value showing up at point B. Right? Like it's effectively like the cheapest way through the network to move this liquidity through the network. It just automatically does that. It's one of the like really cool things about XRP Ledger. I mean, other networks have tried to copy it, but
there was a great I know it's not ILP, but it was great video by Mickey B Fresh on Flare Networks today. It was very informative.
What did he post a video on?
Just the F assets, and the Oracle system, and how it differentiates from the normal Ethereum model, and how you can change anything on the Flare system. It'd just be in terms of, let's get back to the ledger. It's kind of like how long before the IOUs will be interoperable with these layer ones, such as and how will possibly like Flare work with possibly Corium.
Yeah, I mean, who knows whenever Corium is going to come out and what it is, but if it's its own layer one blockchain, all that needs to be done is a smart contract theoretically, between the two chains, and then it would be, the capability would be there. But I think they've started off with a good suite of networks that they're planning on having connectivity to, from both ends. So I don't know how fast other ones are, but those there still needs to be smart contracts that need to be written to allow other F assets and other networks to be connected, and then obviously they would have to be audited and double checked and tested. And this is why I think Songbird is also so special, because you would think that this would be done on the Songbird network, not the Flare network.
Yeah, I think we're very blessed and very early for what's about to come, because is it mainnet launches on the 4th of July. So yeah, really excited. I'm sure I speak the same for everyone in the space.
Yeah, and but July 4th is the smart contract audit for the token itself, or the token distribution. July 11th is like a soft launch, and then over the course of at least the next 8 weeks, so they've really called it September, is when the token distribution is going to begin, and by that time the network will be fully decentralized. They're over 64% decentralized, as in the node structure. So, really, I would say it's going live for us in September. But yeah, I mean, State Connector has already been running for, I would say it's already over a month on Songbird. We're just waiting for that SSAT protocol. So hopefully we get that before Flare goes distribution wise, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm excited about the F assets, like big time excited. I'm kind of disappointed it's taken so long. Fine, do it right, but I'm really excited about it. It's going to be big.
Yeah, and so there's this interesting dynamic that's going to happen between the way that there are actually changes right off the bat from when Flare launches now, that Flare and Songbird are already going two different directions. So the epochs that exist on Songbird are 7 day epochs, right? They're 1 week of delegation time. They're actually going to be two delegation periods within 1 week on Netflare, and it's a different dynamic, the way that you'd be able to move your tokens around and still be able to be locked in for delegation, because it's in every 3 day period. So it's like a 1 day period, you have a lock-in period, and then I guess the delegation lasts 3 days, and then so on and so forth. So it's going to be like an interesting different dynamic right off the bat. The networks, they're going to have a whole bunch of differences. Also, the S asset protocol on Songbird, I think, is not inherently going to reward you um, for if you delegate with it. I don't think you're able to be going to be able to receive delegation rewards with it. But the F assets on a Flare, I do think you will be able to receive delegation rewards for. So there's also a difference in that.
Hey, Death.
Wait,
So
say that again.
Which one? Which part?
What was the difference?
The first one or the second one?
Second one.
So the S assets. So the initially, the when you wrap your assets, right, on Flare, you're going to be able to receive a delegation reward. Normally, like just like you would with your Spark token, or actually, sorry, they're calling it the Flare token now. Um, on Songbird, you're not. They're just going to be wrapped assets on the network. You're not going to just get an initial delegation reward. And I think the reason for that is just because the amount of tokens that exist are great a supply that's greatly different.
Interesting. So I wonder if that's going to bode well for the Songbird projects.
I still think the ecosystem is going to be building on Songbird more first. Just like, so how like I that reference of like if there was going to be some sort of bridge that would be done right between networks, you would figure out that would be running on Songbird first. So it'd just be more like more of the projects that want to connect networks and have these bridges would probably be building there at first. At least I would think so.
I highly recommend you check out the Mickey B Fresh video. If you go to my page, I think I shared it before. If you just scroll down a couple of posts, yeah, it's really worthwhile watching, because the way he goes into detail and explains it about the Oracle system, its own unique. It's not actually Ethereum. It's its own thing that changes the code of every other crypto asset. So basically, when we think of digital assets, it's kind of like in Flare's case, it interoperates everything on its own system. So everything is like recorded, like the eye in the sky. He says the way he said it, it's like everything is observed from every single chain. And it's yeah, the way he explains it is much better than I've just done now, to be honest. But yeah, brilliant video to watch.
So an Oracle, right? And so the best example I would probably use would be Chainlink, right? Not Ethereum, because an Oracle, what it does is it brings a price feed. It brings a feed from the outside world to the inside world of a blockchain, and this is a huge problem that exists today on almost all blockchains, because there's a huge amount of arbitrage that occurs because there's all of these exchanges and everybody, and then obviously like a decentralized exchange on the blockchain itself, and there's different prices all over the place. So it creates a whole bunch of arbitrage opportunities, which could be good and also could be relatively bad, I guess, in a project's eyes. Um, so what they've done is they've built in an Oracle system on top of everything else that already exists on the network. They've built in an Oracle system that has that price feed from all of the different blockchains, all of the different dexes and exchanges concurrently running, um, so that the network itself never has that problem. Sorry, I lost my train of thought halfway through.
Yeah, no, I agree there, Death, with a lot of the because I'm thinking particularly of projects like Oracle Swap, and I was thinking that a lot of people would bring their projects to Songbird to test and to work on, and that would in turn help with the Oracle Swap being used more. You know what I mean?
No, not Oracle Swap. Oracles in general, like the what is an Oracle?
Oh no, I hear you. I hear you. And delegating into the different FTSOs and stuff like that. Um, it's interesting seeing the NFT projects like S Toads making their own FTSO, and then
Yeah.
I'm seeing that from other projects.
Well,
So that's interesting.
yeah, and so I would say the significant difference between these, like the way that the oracles work and why it's so special on Songbird is, so if you take Chainlink for example, to use an oracle service on Chainlink is actually very expensive. Um, and that's because of the way the protocol is set up. So, as an FTSO, acting as an FTSO on the Songbird network, you're rewarded, right? So that this, so from the delegation reward, so that this service does not have to cost so much for for people to be able to use this price feed that you're providing. So it's a much better incentivized
So
model.
basically,
Works, right?
yeah. So the projects will be incentivized to make the network better, and the good projects will maybe pass on some rewards to their people that are supporting that FTSO and delegating to them. So you're going to find more popular projects than others, and that's how it's going to go probably.
Yeah, and well, as an FTSO, right, you're rewarded. The more you're rewarded is dependent on how well of a price feed you provide compared to the median, comparably to what's being taken in.
Yeah, I like the process of delegating to different FTSOs and getting the NFT drops that each FTSO. I've done the best FTSO and gotten their NFT points and then purchased NFTs from there. But I've also just gotten the other FTSOs you can delegate and then you can get the rewards as an NFT claim, which is kind of cool too.
Yeah, and like all of these, all of these things so far, like the oracles, the smart contract capabilities, the cheap and quick transactions consensus. It's this is already exist on Songbird, and then we're gonna have Flare come out, which is gonna have two different protocols also running, like the state connector and the layer cake. So that's just so much to come, right? With the layer cake, with having a smart contract on both ends of a bridge of a network instead of having multi sigs, and then having the bridges insured, right? So that just in case there is some sort of bad actor or something occurs, there's at least a insurance of value on the blockchain for yourself, just in case. And
No,
having
that's great. I love it.
right. And then State Connector, which is able to pretty much read any metadata, any API data. So Web 2, Web 3. I mean, it's really the connector of all.
I can't wait to just make some assets with my Dogecoin that I've been mining for the last year, and my Litecoin, and other people that are maybe have other coins there. They'll be locking it up, I guess, or minting F and S assets, and that'll be
How
good for everything.
how is the mining of the Dogecoin been
It's
for you?
it's a small little box. I bought this box for $2,000. It has it's just a little special edition Dogecoin Voscoin miner, and I bought it just for kicks because I like the looks of it, and I'm an early supporter of um, Dogecoin. I guess I think that it's kind of a neat idea, and I just wanted to participate in mining it, and so it mines Litecoin and Dogecoin. It gives me about 49 Dogecoin every 4 days, and 0.02, I guess, of a Litecoin. So just actually last week, I got one full Litecoin, and it's been in operation for almost 1 year. But at one point, that Litecoin, the fractions that I had, was worth a lot more when Litecoin was up, right? So I just plan to keep on mining away, and maybe in the next bull run, I'll sell a bit and recoup costs from the machine, and yeah, just kind of fun. But proof of work definitely is not where it's at. I just did it to participate in the crypto, and say, hey, I've mined crypto. But it's I think the XRP is the way to go, and can't wait to see what happens with Flare. And yeah, I'm bullish.
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of proof of work. I think probably everybody in here knows that, for a whole host of reasons. But it is good. I mean, I think people we need to have more participation in the industry, right? That's part of why we're doing these. It's engagement, it's allowing people to. And by the way, if anybody has any question whatsoever, no matter how simple you think it is, or there's no stupid questions, please, raise your hand, speak up. I mean, I can just invite everybody to speak up, and then if you want to, that's fine. Um,
Hey,
but yeah,
Karma
I mean,
and Death.
what's up?
I just sent a little donation to you guys in XRP. It's not much, but it's all I can afford at the time. But I appreciate what you and Death do here, and I like listening to you guys. So thank you. Just a small donation. Appreciate it.
Well, trust me, we appreciate it. It's big time. Like, this is just a getting going effort. So, I mean, we don't even have a bank account yet. So, and actually, there's a testament to crypto, right? Like, it's easier for us to set up on multiple networks addresses that. I mean, the money. There's nothing's going to move until we have a bank account. But um, the yeah, dude, so much easier than setting up a bank account.
It literally took me 3 seconds from your Twitter space there. So super easy. If you guys, can donate to these guys, I think what you guys are providing is great information. And I'm going to start sending my friends here. They're asking questions, and they can sit and listen to you guys instead of listening to me.
Well, thank you for the kind words, man. It's what we do it for. We wouldn't be doing this if people didn't find them valuable, or at least it didn't feel like people find them valuable.
Well, I've only discovered these like maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and I wish I had this resource a long time ago. You know what I mean? I would have had probably a lot better of a last bull run.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, so I wanted to talk about a little bit about the FTSO because I think it's really there's something that not a lot of people talk about, but you did mention something, and I kind of wanted to see if it makes sense. So, to my understanding, right, because I'm in the process of trying to qualify to be a FTSO, and if people don't know what that acronym stands for, I think it's
It's the
Flare Time Series Oracle. So it's the Flare Time Series Oracle, and it's just like Death was saying. You can have people delegate to you. You can charge a fee so that you can recoup your costs, or you can do a non for profit, and then every single reward that those people delegate to you, you get. One of the key things I want to talk about is in order to really qualify to my understanding, to be an FTSO and to establish that status, you would have to be in the medium range of what the price is. So I believe that's a good way to maybe counter arbitrage because you're just not allowing anybody to be an FTSO and allow people to delegate. You're compacting everything to the medium of all prices, which to my understanding stabilizes the price a little bit and allows the rewards and people that are cashing out those rewards to have more of a stable understanding. I could be wrong, but that's one of the things that I really love about the FTSO.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as I said that, I was saying that before. It helps it helps stabilize that, and it helps with the arbitrage opportunities. It decreases the amount of arbitrage opportunity between the chains and the price feeds. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, Death. I didn't know you touched up on that. I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good. But yeah, I mean, definitely, if you wanna, if you, other than that, so other than trying to become a price feed, right? You have to be accepted into the FTSO structure. So they have to. Everybody has to agree. All the nodes have to agree to accept you and to trust you, like you said, price feed wise. And this is where consensus comes into it because it's I don't know if it's exactly 80% consensus, but I think it is right around there where they're using their 80% consensus to make changes.
Actually, Death, if you want to expand on that, I've not fully grasped how the cryptography on the Flare network operates. Like I know how it works on XRP Ledger, and with the FTS, can you? I don't know how much you know about that. Can you
Well,
do you know how to that much of it?
Well, I don't know the percent, but they're using the Federated Byzantine Agreement, so it is the same type of consensus. Where the distributed ledger between the nodes have to make an agreement for validation of transactions. But in the course of
But
change,
that hits the. I get that for the ledger entry level, consensus for okay, here's a
yeah, and so
valid
it
transaction.
price feed also. So it'd be the same concept to us to accept the price feed from the oracles that everybody has to be in agreement who is an FTSO so far that are we're gonna accept them and their price as that. And so that's why
So
we probably have a limit of like 120 or something like that, or 130, because not to exceed too many people who really just don't care.
So is it sort of it almost sounds like double consensus. I mean, you got one consensus mechanism around ledger entries and then another one around the FTSOs, the Oracle, the data feeds.
Yeah.
Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, because I
Yep.
I think every go ahead, NY.
No, I was agreeing. Karma brought it he broke it down into simpler terms.
that's why Hugo's got his glasses, boys.
Yeah, right, yes. Funny thing is Hugo's CEO, right? I mean, he's very tech friendly, right? But he is the CEO. He's not even the CTO. The CTO, oh man, I'm blanking on his name right now. I'm so sorry. Was it Sean? Sean Cohen? No. It might have been Sean. Anyway, he's a brilliant guy, right? He really knows his stuff, like in depth. Right, because he's the one really running the show, tech wise.
Hey, Death, can you expand on the upper and lower house kind of voting kind of? Do you know much about that section of it?
No, I don't, and I don't know the percentage. Like, I don't know if they're making some change to the layer one amendment, like when for to accept the new FTSO, like if that's something that has to be changed. I'm not exactly sure the structure of it because I don't know if it's open source yet. I don't think it is actually.
To touch on the cryptography end, the nodes run the Avalanche consensus protocol with the key adaptation to the FBA consensus topology, just to kind of help everybody with the understanding of the cryptography end.
What was the last part of that?
Key adaptation to the FBA consensus topology.
What is the key adaptation? I don't know that I know what that is.
It's just it adapting, like the nodes adapting with one another, because it all within like this network topology, consensus, these algorithms have to make sure they communicate in coordination with one another.
Right.
Because that's how the network is going to leverage that EVM at that point, like the Ethereum virtual machine.
Yeah, I think Hugo dubbed it Turing Complete Federated Byzantine Consensus. I think that's what he had called it.
Yes.
Kind of like dub it his own term for the. Yeah, I was correct, Sean.
So
Sean,
like rotating the key for the smart contract, or am I totally off base?
I could be off base too, but I thought it might have been.
I've never actually heard of that. I never heard of that. I know you can change the master key on like an XRP ledger, so you can do key rotation. That's important. That's a big security improvement.
I think when they say key is more like highlighting, like adaptation.
What's
like
adapting?
This is a key component. A key component could be adaptation.
Oh, I 100%. I think adaptation is critical. That's like the amendment process. That's adaptation. But what's adapting? Is it the FTSO and like the price feeds, or
no, the adaptation maybe is the sense that not only can you vote, or not only is the consensus met of the validation structure for the transactions, but for the voting in of an FTSO. Is that what you meant, Gene?
Yeah, because it pretty much everything is bridging through Avalanche in its own way. It's using Avalanche's consensus protocol.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me good?
I hear you.
So could that key adaptation just be kind of what Karma was saying, a smart contract that's written in between the two connections so that they can just adapt to each other? Is that pretty much what it is?
well, if it's on the FTSO side, it's probably part of the Oracle process. If it's on the approve this transaction, this like ledger entry side, then I'm thinking more like key rotation type of thing.
Yeah, they were like, "Hey, this federated Byzantine agreement thing is great. Let's make it so that all the nodes have to be on a consensus to make all of the different little changes, like even FTSO changes. You must accept them for them to matter in the network." And then so the next step for the Flare team was to, all right, let's get a whole bunch of like good actors and people who want to participate in the ecosystem, and then let's kind of like try and decentralize it and push it out, and then we could kind of start off in like this good actors. We know everybody likes each other, and then grow from there.
Guys, just a quick one. What's the best operating wallet for Flare? Because I have MetaMask, but I have Bifrost. But I've been predominantly using Bifrost, but they've been pretty quiet. And so far, the GateHub IOUs for Flare and Spark and Songbird tokens is just an IOU. So currently, you can't diversify. Obviously, you can if you exchange, let's just say, the XRP token, and then transfer that from one wallet to, then you can, use the FLR and that kind of gateway. But I'm just saying, what is the most safest path to Flare or SGB? Is it currently Bifrost or MetaMask?
Well, so I think what you mentioned was an IOU that exists on the XRP ledger. And so actually,
GateHub.
you're using GateHub, you can actually you can cash out your Songbird. The thing is you have to KYC with them, and depending on the region you live in the world, you may or may not be able to pull the Songbird out. But yeah, to custody Songbird yourself, I would say either or MetaMask or Bifrost. I probably think Bifrost is much better just because MetaMask has more of a biased opinion.
ETH background.
Yeah, it's
You
just
can also you can store it on a hard wallet. I believe Decent allows you to put Songbird on there.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen that, and it
Yeah,
works
I've
with
heard.
the.
Yeah, so if you don't want to trust it on exchanges or you don't want to trust it on an application-based wallet like Bifrost, then the hard wallet I would recommend would be Decent because they also use biometrics, so it's really secure.
Yeah, I have two decent wallets sitting here on my desk, but I've also heard a lot of good things about Bifrost. If you want like self custody, you know.
I use both Decent and Bifrost. They both work great. And Zum Wallet. There's lots of good stuff for us.
Oh, by the way, so for this Wednesday's chat, there's some guys that have been around, for a long time, who have a derivatives project. And so on Wednesday, we're going to have them on to discuss it. It's just launching. And I think at least from a financial engineering point of view, they've got some real good innovation, like real true innovation. So Wednesday should be fun. It's going to be, you know, we're probably not going to be able to get through all the concepts because there's a lot, but I really do think these guys have a true innovation. So yeah, Wednesday, you don't want to miss that one, or at least catch it on the YouTube.
Has there been any expansion on Ore? I believe there was some development. I'm not sure whether it was a DAO.
I think I heard that they were maybe not going forward. I think there was some securities law stuff.
You're talking about
concern.
Probity, yeah. So, so the team from Probity unfortunately had a falling out. It seems like too. So Matt Rosen was part of the Probity team, and he was really the dev on the CTO. And because of regulatory concerns, he decided to not want to do it. So he actually, I think he went to go work for Uphold, I think, or something right now, right? I know he's working for another big company, but yeah. So fortunately, project fell through. So I don't think Probity Vault is going to exist. At least they've been very quiet ever since then.
Yeah, I think they really did some good work, though. I mean, I spoke to Matt one time on like a Zoom call, and this was before he really got as far along as he got. And I really thought they were doing some good work. I'm wondering if any of that work. I need to digest this AMM stuff that just came out last night, and I'm wondering if there's any overlap between some of the thinking that they did at Trustline/Probity, and maybe some of the AMM work.
I suppose that could pave the way for something like Algorand to be more useful.
How does in what way?
I don't know. I just get the sense off some of the interviews with Algorand that they're trying to create some kind of DAO. Well, unless it's complete horse nonsense. But yeah, everything's up in the air. But I'm just listening to as much information as possible. So I know that Algorand is going to be on the Flare networks as well.
Yes, another FSet, correct, or SSet as well.
So I have a question. It might be a little bit off topic, but let me just get the tweet really quick, and then I'll bring it up. It has to do with the ISO model, but it's a question within a article that somebody did some research on that I've never seen somebody put it that way before. Maybe I've just been skipping stuff, but I just wanted to discuss it. I'm gonna find it and then I'll pin it on top and then we could discuss.
Oh, and I pinned something to the top, but I never said anything about it. Ripple partner Peersit Technology has launched the Colombia's National Land Registry on top of the XRP ledger.
Oh, dude, that's a big deal. Like, this is something near and dear to my heart, actually. The real estate on XRP ledger I is one of actually the first things that attracted me. I know the peer-to-peer insurance kind of is how I stumbled on it, but it was really a lot of my thinking from real estate titles and stuff that when I first saw it, I was like, anyway, and I know you'd be surprised how much untitled land there is in the world if you really go looking around. A friend of mine up in DC, her brother was down in Panama, and he was in charge. There was a whole swath, and I'm saying tens of thousands of like an entire peninsula, basically, completely untitled. And he was in charge. Her brother was doing the titling or trying to do the titling of all that land. I mean, it's a big deal. Like, and it's a big deal in more countries than you would think.
You know, and I would also with like the way that titling insurance and stuff all that works, it's not the same way in all of the countries. So I could imagine it in other countries being much easier to be able to get around all of this crazy regulatory and licensing stuff that obviously is done over here.
Well, see, you got to realize the knock-on effects, right? Like the second degree or second order. I prefer the term second degree effects because, you know, these are all cash markets, right? Why are they all cash markets? Well, a couple of reasons. One, there's no title registry, right? You're a bank, and I'm like, hey, will you loan me $100 so I can buy this property? And you're looking at me going, you have okay. What if I have to foreclose on you, right? What legal rights do I have if you don't even have legal rights to the property or title? I mean, so right off the bat, you got a showstopper. The other thing is the other big one is, and this falls in line with the identity thing. That's why I think that's such a huge under. I don't think people are paying quite as much attention to that as they probably should be. But the credit ratings. Okay, hey, you want to come to me for a mortgage? I'm Mr. Bank, right? Um, uh, well, you know, what's your name? And you say, my name's John Doe. And I'm going, well, how do I know you're the real John Doe? Right? Like, so there's no credit ratings. The other thing is, people, this is something that used to really irritate me. It still does, actually, fundamentally. irritate me. Without those other aspects, you can't have insurance, like property insurance, So I'm Mr. Banker, right? Okay. Well, I loan you some money to buy this house and it burns down. Done, gone, ashes, heap of ashes, right? Well, me, from the banker's point of view, I'm looking at this situation going, okay, so the collateral for my loan that I gave you is gone, right? You, the borrower, are looking at me going, hey, I got to pay rent somewhere else because, like, my house burnt down. Like, bad. And I've lost everything, right? Like, it's a terrible, terrible. Fire losses are the biggest losses. And so you can't have insurance until you have title, and you can't have, and then there's this is when I say, people don't think from really, I don't think a lot of people anyhow think from a systemic point of view. Like, in order to build this thriving market that we have here in the States and in much of Europe and in other places in the world, Australia, New Zealand, etc., South Africa to some degrees, halfway there, and you can kind of you can kind of see in the market dynamics how well these markets are developed. But you need all of these things. You need all of these elements, and it's the confluence in bringing, like, the insurance, the titling, the credit checks, the banking, all of this stuff. You have to have all the elements, and then the market just freaking thrives. But, it's like if you take a pond and starve it of oxygen, then the little fish die, and the little fish die, the big fish die, and you can't, like, a lot of these, like the Panamanian market. I've looked at a lot of these real estate markets over a while, and I'm actually very bullish on those markets, primarily for the reason I'm describing. These are undeveloped markets. Okay, the demand is there, but if you go to try and get a loan to buy some property in one of these markets, you have to go get the loan in another country. So now you've completely taken the local community, and this, I think, is bad. You completely taken the local community out. So now only foreigners can use leverage to buy these markets. These completely unleveraged markets. And I don't know, bring it back to crypto. We're seeing a bunch of deleveraging in crypto, and that's probably going to continue.
Yeah. And NY Crypto, go ahead, bring up the post you put above. Let's talk about it. NY Crypto, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I have moments where I have weird pockets in my house. I just want to make sure my audio is good. So one thing that I was reading, the middle paragraph. So it says that banks worldwide have already committed to this worldwide regulatory framework, which backs SWIFT and the Federal Reserve. And as we move towards this new quantum financial system, any third party that wants to interact with the banks or that wants to interact with banks must be able to use this format. So I was thinking, once this goes live, what if a bank doesn't transition? Would they still be able to operate on the old system, or is it going to be like a cutoff point?
Well, so it's a payment. ISO is the payments messaging standard between the financial institutions. So once there's that finalization date, I think it was which was a while. I don't know, what was it, like 2026 or something? They did for, like, the end of it, like everyone wanted to be on it, or
Yeah, 25 or 26, one of the
25.
two.
It was at the end of 25. Then you wouldn't be able to financially communicate with other banks and financial institutions, because it's just the payment information that's being sent between them. So yeah, for sure, definitely important from that perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, because I see it as that date approaches, and I think somebody had mentioned that the Fed said that they weren't gonna oblige this year. They were gonna push it back another 2 years, which makes sense for them to join in 2024, 2025 when we have a new president or whatever. But the way I see it is, are there going to be a lot of third party financial services that are going to try to like rush and try to build on these projects and at least buy the mother coin so that then they can get their own servers and run their own nodes and everything?
Well, so once again, I want to make that that distinction that ISO 20022 messaging and payments de facto standard has nothing to do with the actual digital currencies, right? It has nothing to do with like our digital assets directly, in any way, shape, or form. It's just the messaging standard between the financial institutions. Um, I hope that answered that question. But it's a big thing for financial institutions themselves. I mean, they got to get on board with this new technology, the new way of the standard of it being done.
So for example, what would be a way for you to partake in this, and I guess in the new standard? I mean, I know a lot of companies are
Well,
building coins or participating by grabbing onto certain coins that kind of mix with that standard, no?
Well, okay, you could say that ISO 20022 messaging payments de facto standard requires knowing how much your payment is going to cost, how fast it's going to take to get to you, where it's going to be, all the transmissions it's going to have to go through to get to you. It's like all of those kind of types of payment information, right? You could per se that using a very eco-friendly, quick, and efficient blockchain technology, if agreed upon by multiple units, right, that this value being set for moving from one place to another is agreed upon, then sure, I guess they could use the technology to kind of benefit like the standard that they're using, but it doesn't directly mean that has to occur at all.
So there's a potential that CBDCs that come out in the future would kind of want to exist with that messaging standard or cooperate with that messaging standard, or that doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, I think so. For between banks and financial institutions, they would definitely still use the ISO 20022 standard.
Well, they're going to have to. I mean, it's not like an optional.
Exactly, it's not optional. Yeah. Well, by 2025 or 26,
I
right?
mean, yeah, there's an adoption period, but it's a adopt or die,
Yep.
basically. So they have to.
I would definitely take a look at like Finastra, for example. Them using APIs at that point and those different types of frameworks, because a lot of what makes, for example, what makes Ripple so great in a sense isn't just XRP, but how they used XRP. They use that open source technology that XRP or the XRPL is, in a sense of creating, that software. It makes it easier for banks to integrate that messaging platform itself, if that helps.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. And so, you actually said something though before NY Crypto also about like the Fed, how like the Fed pushed it back. Doesn't make sense to my brain because I'm like, well, it's weird because the Fed now service is using Volante, which is using VoltPay, which is directly integrated to Ripple technologies, and I'm like, well, they're probably ready to go. It's probably some sort of uh, back end decision that's probably waiting to be made. Technology wise, I think they're ready to go.
They could also be waiting for people to plug in also, because I mean, imagine you switch over and you have all this liquidity to move around and you can't do anything because you're waiting for everybody else. So it would kind of it would kind of make sense for them to push it back a little so people could play catch up, I guess.
Well, I mean, if you think about the distribution of this stuff, it's always going to go through third parties. And I mean, from Ripple's point of view, from the Fed's point of view, from, you know, think of it if Ripple tried to go and give every single person in the world a wallet, and then like, what are they going for, world domination? Like, get the hell out of here, dude. Nobody's going to allow. That's ridiculous. One, it's not even, you're not going to scale that. Two, you just know. I mean, you work with the third parties, you work with the banks, they're licensed and everything. Okay, this is like a shortcut to get the job done. Let's say you do, which I believe Ripple does, want to serve all the people in the world. If you want to get to all the people in the world, first off, get to where they already are, right? They already are having bank accounts. I mean, pretty sure everybody on this chat has a bank account. So you're already there, right? So just as a how to get to market as fast as possible perspective, like it would make the most sense to go to the banks, and you sell one bank and you get like thousands of customers or tens of thousands of customers. Just logical. I mean, you don't have to think about it too hard.
But say though, like in the the current economic state, it's like, say Amazon, for example, they've started introducing drones into people's back gardens delivering the parcels. So that's a reliance on zero carbon policy, similar to some of the blockchains, like which will be coming out maybe later on after XRP and stuff like that. So you got like Hedera, and that's zero carbon. So like what I'm saying is, if the environment changes to like a worse situation than things are going now, so obviously hyperinflation, petrol prices, everything going up, and people struggling to pay for petrol to do driving jobs and situations like that. Would it be a regulatory emergency change, kind of like COVID situation, that something like that on that level would have to happen for these things to come into play? I mean, it's totally like hypothetical situation, but I'm sure those would those kind of services in technology would make huge strides in the for the situations we have now if they escalate.
I would think from a regulatory standpoint, the only person who would be able to do anything would be like the U.S. Treasury, and there would only be if that was something that caused a systemic risk to the United States and international financial markets. Other than that, nobody really has like authority to like just like all of this like little like these little scams and all the stuff that's going on right now without like some broad brush and a change to the way that the regulation is looked at, especially for the way exchanges are looked at. I don't think we'll see that change until then.
Would it be possible? Can you hear me?
Yep. Good.
So let's say we get to a point where regulations hit, all these crypto projects die. Let's say 99%, because that's the number of people like to use. Let's say 99% die, and there's only like 100 left. And out of those 100, 10 are ISO compliant. Like they fit in within that messaging structure where if people wanted to use those coins, it would be fine. Would it be wise, or would it be kind of a monopoly for big financial corporations to gobble up all those coins and then establish stable coins off of that with their own liquidity to then offer to these third party financial partnerships, I guess, so that they can also partake in the ISO standard, but it wouldn't be the mother coin. It would be like, I guess it would be the stable coin. Would that make sense, or would that be probably something that they would tackle with regulations? Like, would it be frowned upon to do something like that, to hoard all the compatible tokens and then just make stable coins off of them? Would that be wise?
I missed the first part of what you said. If you could just go back to it, I'm sorry, NY.
Was everybody able to hear me, or was it choppy? Now you're big banks and you want to be able to still partake in this new financial structure. So you start accumulating whatever networks exist out there. Would it be wise for you to then make, I guess, side chains off of?
Sorry about that. Keep going.
Yeah, I think I see where you're going now. Yeah, but keep going.
Sorry. So would it be wise for you to, I guess, hoard a big bag of all that you need to operate on the network, and then with the liquidity that you have on hand, produce stable coins so that other third-party financial services, like third-party financial businesses, can also participate within the same standard? Would that be wise, or would that be like monopolizing the game?
What's the collateral of the stable coin?
So let's say you're a company like Apple, where you have all this cash on hand, and then 2025 comes and the standard comes. What are you going to do with that cash? You can bring it to the bank, and then the bank can give you CBDCs, and then you can turn them into your own stable coin and give them to other partners. And go, listen, you weren't able to get the main network, but I have the main network coins. I have a server. I've built out my own stable coin, so you can still interoperate with me at a reasonable CBDC agreed rate, and it'll still be ISO compatible. Does that make sense, or am I inventing something?
No, that makes sense. And you got to keep in mind all these big tech companies are banks also. Like they're not paying banks fees. They just make their own bank. Um, they all have banking licenses, etc. I do think in the long run, this isn't in like tomorrow or next year, any type of thing. I do think in the long run, um, we're going to see. So if you go back to the like 1800s and whatnot, um, each bank would effectively, there was no national currency that came around in the Civil War. I believe that's what, yeah. And then that's when the greenback got created. Been a lot of changes since then, but nonetheless, it used to be that each bank, and like when you had like the settling of the West, like if I opened up a bank in like Tombstone, you know, it's me, I'm issuing my own currency, right? And I'm still doing loans and stuff, and it's just instead of being part of like a banking system slash network, it's just me, right? It's just the local bank. And when you had the Great Depression, a lot of, well, dude, the banking system failed who knows how many times. Between the 1800s were really bad. Well, okay, if you don't succeed, you learn a lesson, right? There was a lot of lessons learned in the 1800s in banking. Like it was bad, and tons of innocent depositors lost their money, and they weren't even doing fancy stuff, right? This is just deposit banking. Um, and I think that a lot of these companies, I think we're going to see, okay, so like pendulum swings, right? So the pendulum is all the way up on the side of the spectrum where the big banks have, they're literally too big to fail. The pendulum's all the way over on that side. I don't think it's terribly crazy, especially with these new technologies, to think that pendulum just might swing back the other direction a little bit. All right. And then you got these big tech companies. This is why Google was getting into the insurance, and don't think Apple's not either. These companies, they're so flush with cash, they're running out of options for what the hell to do with all the money. And I think that if I was to trust a stable coin, I would kind of want to trust a stable coin issued, like, let's say, and I don't use any Apple devices whatsoever, but I have nothing against Apple. Their stuff's too expensive and I'm not, just no. But I would still trust Apple to back a Apple dollar, right? Like, they got so many freaking dollars coming in. If something goes wrong, like a Terra Luna type situation, who gives a, like, Apple's going to have another $1 billion next month, right? Like, I mean, it's solid backing. I mean, it comes to the collateral. Anytime someone says to me stablecoin, the very first question, what's the collateral? Stable to what? Right? Like Circle, okay, stable to treasuries. I get it. Treasuries are future dollars. Cool. Makes sense. Stable to what? Stable to Bitcoin? Oh, nope. Stable to XRP? Nope. Not going to play that game either.
Stable to like a petty cash? Like stable to the petty cash that you have? Because places like Apple, we know for a fact that they accept payments from they accept legit forms of payment. To my understanding, I don't think they accept crypto at the moment. So like, I agree with you. It would make sense for me to trust Apple because we know that they get paid in dollars, euros, yen, which are official coins. It's not like a Ponzi scheme where you have to invest $1,000 for the price to go up.
That's what I agree with you. That's one of the things where I say, like, the cool thing about this is the David Schwartz, like, the best incentive is no incentive, which effectively is a shortcut or a little bit of a sly way of saying, if you're going to use this ledger, you might want to actually have like a real business. Okay, Apple's got a real business that's real, right? I mean, like, I feel like it's almost a duh thing, but I don't know. I sometimes I hope most people, at least in this chat, see what I'm saying. Well, I think these companies will. The pendulum will swing back. They're going to start printing. What did Chris Larson used to say? He used the airline miles example, right? Airline miles are a currency. Who prints them? Who gets the seigniorage? Who gets the? It's the now that's what, okay. The seigniorage is where I sort of draw the line. Not 100% drawing the line. But
can you tell me what that is before you go into a depth about it? What is seigniorage?
Seigniorage is the profit earned from printing a currency. So, like when the U.S. prints a dollar bill, or like say $100 bill, maybe it cost them, I don't know, I'm making these numbers up, 10 cents, right? So there's $99.90 worth of seigniorage, right? Because they're going to sell that dollar to the public, to like some bank who's going to distribute it to like a depositor. They're going to sell that money for $100. it cost them like 10 cents to print the bill off. Right? So when you start talking about the pendulum swinging back towards private money creation in these companies, because it's their balance sheet that's backing the currency, the airline miles, right? Like if you got a bunch of airline miles at Delta and Delta goes out of business and they don't have any more airplanes, how much are those airline miles worth? Nothing. So you consider the collateral. And I do think we'll see a lot more private money creation. And I'm not sure that I think I mean, there could be exceptions, but I think generally speaking, it's probably not desirable to have private money creation where seigniorage is going on. This lends itself to these Ponzi schemes. You make this one rule, like hey, if I issue you a karma dollar, well, it's because you gave me $1 and I have it in the account, and so when you come to redeem, like the dollar's there. This is the narrow banking model. I think if you have private money creation and it uses or exercises the narrow banking model, this is good. This is good. There's all sorts of beneficial things that can come of it. If you allow private money creation not through a registered bank, although these companies are all banks too, so there's that. I just don't want to see the private money creation doing fractional reserve. I want to see the private money creation. I think that's going to be, it's going to enable services and products and extend things in ways that people haven't thought of yet. I mean, it'll enable, it'll open up so much creativity. Can y'all hear the thunder?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. Hear that. And I don't want to change the subject or interrupt, but I just want to thank everybody who comes and who joins and comes up to speak with us. We wouldn't be doing these, right, if it wasn't valuable for everybody. At least I feel everybody feels like it's valuable, and I enjoy hearing everybody's output and hearing everybody's different ideals about things. Just want to say we host these, though, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, starting at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. We typically keep them around 2 hours. And on Wednesdays, we host a specific 5 to 6 Eastern Standard Time space on a specific topic. Next week's topic, though, we already have it aligned. We're going to have having two guys come in. They're part of they're doing something honestly mind blowing, right? It's something super creative in the derivatives market, and I'm really interested to have them on, and that'll be next Wednesday. But if you could give us a follow on at ledgerscale on Twitter and a subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah, and also we don't have a full house here, so if anybody else wants to speak up, this is an open forum. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. If you're listening on YouTube and you want to participate, jump over to Twitter. It's at ledgerscale. And this is an all volunteer effort. We appreciate the donation earlier. But we're operating as a nonprofit and still pulling some of that together. But if you would like to support our continued efforts, you can donate, at least currently, to the crypto addresses pinned at the top of the Twitter profile, and I think we have them at the top of the space. But yeah, appreciate that, and got to keep things running. So. But yeah, I do think that private money issuance is going to grow in popularity.
Yeah.
And you're going to start seeing it. Wait till you see the Internet of Things, dude. When the Internet of Things starts going on, and it already is, but I mean, when it really gets going, it's going to require value exchange.
Before we that, have to deal with all these hardships. I mean, another one today, right? Earlier today, Voyager paused withdrawals, deposits, transactions, anything going on, rewards, everything is paused on their exchange right now. They basically shut the walls.
What exchange?
Voyager. It's another one of these huge ones that were having. They had a large amount of percentage being lent out, or sorry, yeah, APYs that they were giving.
Hey, what's that saying?
All right.
When the tide goes out, you find out who's swimming with their trunks off. So this is a great cleansing, right?
There's a lot of truth to that, and just for anybody in here, try not to use a lot of leverage with your investment portfolio. I've seen it too many times. You can go from doing quite well to just having nothing if you use too much leverage. Now, in real estate, most people aren't going to just drop $500,000 or $750,000 on the house cash. So you use a mortgage. That's a form of leverage. I get it. As long as you can handle the cash flow or it's cash flow positive, then fine. That's a good risk reduction method. But yeah, be real careful with leverage. And in crypto, please don't. Please don't. Just
buy
please.
buy at the low prices. These are great prices, I think, for a lot of these utility cryptos, and just wait a bit. And yeah, I'm not interested in using leverage. I know people are doing really good at it, but I'm a chicken, so I think I'll just take a safer, slower route.
I don't know anybody doing good in the last 6 months.
Well, I mean,
there you go, Lee John.
It's all relevant to time. Time in market sometimes beats timing the market. But I don't want to give any financial advice. I don't want anybody to make any sort of financial decisions because of anything we say on the stage today, of course. Meta, though.
Hey, that's a good one, Death. I like that. I'd never heard that one. Time in the market is better than timing the market. I like that. I consider that one stolen.
You're more than welcome to, because I stole it from somebody else. So, although all my things are typically taken from great minds, but Meta, thank you very much for raising your hand. Please feel free. Go ahead.
Hey guys, great conversation. I just had a question. I use cold storage for my XRP, but I wanted to test out Coinbase Pro and see if they still let you put it in and take it out. So I tried that a couple times, and I noticed their destination tag changes every time you do that. Is there a reason why the destination tag changes and it's not the same every time for your account?
Must be something of their own internal system, the way that they're authorizing, like, that's your account. But I know that Coinbase Pro is planning on shutting down soon, so I don't want to watch out for that. I know they're planning on shutting down the app.
Well, my first thought,
that's
I
why I
know
wanted to take it all off of there if I had any, and I was just kind of testing it, seeing if it still works, because a lot of exchanges have taken off XRP for about a year now.
Well, my first thought was, you know how you do the two-factor authentication type codes, and they time out or they expire. Maybe they have some sort of on the pro side, some sort of. I mean, that would be like an additional layer of security. Like, only takes 3 to 4 seconds to do a transaction, right? So if they make a destination tag available for 15 minutes and like you can't get the transaction done, okay, well, we'll just give you another one.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, it just kind of worries me, especially Coinbase Pro. Like, I thought Coinbase was somewhat legit, but it looks like more now it might even go insolvent itself.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them to be one of the guys that go under. I mean, so far we've seen it all. Right? I knew it. BlockFi, Voyager, Celsius, right? All of the lending platforms that had these crazy APYs. Now they're all so far under hot water.
And just an FYI, ApeCoin is on fire.
ApeCoin, is that the Bored Ape Yacht Club thing?
I'm not sure. It's a Coinbase one though. ApeCoin. It's just gone up about 8%.
So when we moon, where do you guys think we'll be able to sell? Like, doesn't look like Coinbase will be around, right?
I mean,
Yeah,
it'll probably be around.
being able to exchange to a fiat currency to cash out is always a fear, right? Because and this is one of the things that come with being in this market. We are in an unregulated market as far as exchanges go, and right, it's a wild west. So there is there is all right,
Yeah.
dude, green candle. I don't think he meant to unmute himself there.
Oh, no, I didn't. Sorry. I'm jumping on a trampoline with my daughter.
Had a feeling, or I thought it was swing. But yeah, I forgot the point I was making. I'm sorry.
About the unregulated exchanges and the future of cashing out fiat.
Oh yeah, so like these exchanges today could just close up, and that's it. How do you cash out? So, I think that's a time thing. It's also sometimes being positioned to cash out, right? If anything was to go down, is better than not. But then you have to exchange that you're putting your crypto on. So there's a lot of variables. I personally don't know if I'll ever. I'm more into like value creation and or using collateral to make more value creation.
I've been saying this for years, and it's finally happening with Flare, at least in a way that the first time. So I've always, it seemed obvious that these markets would grow to the point where you could earn a return on your assets, on your capital, right? I mean, we live in a capitalist society. You would think you could get return on your capital. And it's a matter of the market figuring out how to do that in like a fundamentally sound way. I think the Flare project has articulated a very good way that's fundamentally sound. Yep. I mean, and not, some of these stable coins, I feel like, while the methods and the math might work, it's not, there's no real reason the market, I mean, there's some, but they're not really good, sustainable reasons why the market would want these services. And this is why I think we've seen some of what's unfolded in the last recent past. But I think what Flair's doing is great, and there's going to be more. There's going to be other smart people are going to come along and figure out other stuff that we haven't thought of yet, and it's going to be like there's going to be, we live in a capitalist society, man. Hang on to your capital. Eventually, it'll provide some cash flow.
So
And
when David,
you're good.
sorry, when David was talking about walled gardens, was that the like talking about the central bank digital currency side of things rather than the bridge asset? So in that, like in the future transgression of that, we would move away from the storage, and it would all be more focused on the movement
I
from
think
like
he was more talking RippleNet customers, so the actual commercial banks that use RippleNet. But frankly, until we have regulations, if they want to tear down the wall to the garden and like join the rest of the Internet of Value, they can't. They can't.
Can somebody explain Flare Network a little bit to me? Because I've heard you can, I guess you could say, stake your XRP there for yields, I guess, eventually. But what's to say it's not going to turn into something like Celsius or something like that? Like, what what is special about Flare? I keep hearing it's a very good network.
Well, so first off, like Celsius or BlockFi or any of those are a centralized exchange. They're not even a blockchain or a network or anything. It's just some whatever ledger running on their own centralized system. But Flare Network is going to have the capabilities to have bridged networks and have represented assets on said network as like a wrapped asset. So your XRP could be a FXRP or SXRP depending on if it's Songbird on Flare. Now, this capability already exists between a lot of the layer twos that exist today. Between, like, you could use an example like Polygon and Ethereum, right? What's special about Flare and Songbird is they've devised a way to have these bridges connected between the two blockchains or whatever multiple side chains in a decentralized manner, so that it's not being ran by people or parties who are running multi-sig wallets, which is typically how almost all of these problems develop with the bridges today. The hacks, unfortunately, it's a smart contract running on both ends, and then it's insured by the agent providing the collateral for the asset to be wrapped on the blockchain. So they're insured, and there's less problems that can occur because there's not actually humans doing the agreeing between the blockchains.
So in a summary of that, it's the decentralization is deemed more equitable. So it's like fairness. So the AI will kind of be the intermediary that you know it makes sure everything is a lot fairer system, because like when you have problems like we're having now in the current world economic situations, governments and centralization, this is good. Problem People say problems are bad, but sometimes if you got no problems, that is a problem. So what you will see is, you know, this will pave the way for something new, which will, should, based off the problems of the current situation, provide a new pathway for moving things forward. That's the way I see it anyway, if that helps.
I think he might have dropped. Maybe got rugged on Twitter.
No,
No
I could
worries.
hear it.
Yeah, I
Right.
was able to hear him also. I was able to hear him, Death.
Meta, is he still here? It looks like he's gone to my speakers.
Oh no, that was before. He wanted to speak before. That's what I was talking about.
Also, the Flare website has the white papers. If anyone wants to download them in PDF, it's I think there's three installments, so it's quite a big one. So yeah, it's a great read as well. Even refers to XRP as a blue chip crypto, so that's quite interesting.
Oh boy, that's now you're starting the the combination of the Wall Street vernacular with the crypto vernacular.
I didn't write the white paper, Karma.
I'm not saying you did. Actually, I messaged while we've been on this call a guy from Ripple, and I'm reading the AMM documentation, and I won't say what I said, but I was like, hey, you guys might want to reconsider the verbiage there because reasons, and well, we'll see what they do, but yeah. There's a couple of, and I get what they're saying. It's nothing wrong, but you switch. So if you walk around like a college, right, and you got like the medical school and the business school and the engineering school and the laser school and the communications school, whatever, English school, all these different schools are effectively just a different body of language. Right? You learn a bunch of terms, you know what they mean, You can work with them now that you understand the concepts the terms represent, and that's what they are. And so, you know, you start, this is one of the things with crypto, like you got to know multiple bodies of knowledge. Okay. You got to know the tech. You got to know the financial markets. If that's the application you're using, the tech's the tool, right? The market that you're applying it to is financial markets. So you got to know that. And then you got to know the regulations, which there's a lot of in finance. So, you know, don't like end up in jail. And you got to really know multiple bodies of knowledge. And I was like reading the stuff that they just put out last night, and I'm like, hey, you might want to reconsider some of that language, because in a different body of knowledge, that means a term that you don't really want that. You don't want to invoke that meaning.
Interesting. Well, and Kashta, welcome up, man. Thank you for raising your hand. Go ahead if you would like to speak.
Appreciate it, Deb. I just wanted to kind of make a little clarification, right? So what Flare is building is really just a base layer one, right? So when people say, well, I heard that Flare is building ways that you can stake your XRP. If you end up staking your XRP on Flare, it'll be via a dApp creator who builds a application for you to use your XRP on Flare, right? So it's very important to remember that it's just a base layer one. Any rewards that you get from participating in the base layer one system of Flare is simply through your efforts in participating with the voting system that gives the Oracle system, right? It's decentralized nature, right? It's the secret sauce for the Oracle system. And you're participating in that, right? So it's not staking by any means. And so I just wanted to kind of clarify that if a lot of people are really not up to speed on what Flare is doing, using that kind of like staking verbiage, right, is really not what's going on.
Correct. You're right. You're very right. The terminology should be you're receiving a reward for the distribution of your vote towards an FTSO. Yeah, you're right. It's a reward. It's not, you're not staking. You're not wrapping it up. Yeah, you're very right. The term behind it.
Right. And also there will be dApp creators that are going to create a lot of applications that may offer you an opportunity to stake your assets, right? Or do a plethora of a lot of other things, right? But I think it's just important to keep in mind that there's a distinction between Flare and those dApp creators, right? And we keep that fine line of, because if that risk factor comes up, right, you want to know who's creating that dApp. You want to know everything about that dApp and not just kind of associate the goodwill that Flare may have built in the layer one with the dApp creators. So I just kind of want to keep those lines clear.
Well said. I agree.
So we're at about the like 30-minute mark. If anybody wants to jump up and speak up and question, curiosity, topic to discuss.
Go ahead, NY Crypto.
To my understanding too, whenever you're gonna, I guess, delegate Songbird or Flare with the F or the S asset, kind of like what Kashta was saying, it would be through a D app. But I believe that if Flare themselves were to come out with any application or network, I think the reward you would get would be Flare or Songbird, and it wouldn't be XRP. So if you maybe wrapped XRP with them, you would get a Flare reward. I don't think they would be able to give you an XRP unless they're selling from their own bag or they have their own mechanism.
Well, there is actually a mechanism where you could earn the native asset, right? Because they are
Yeah.
charged a fee to onboard the asset. So there is a aspect of that goes on in the Flare ecosystem.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm not 100% sure how that works. Death might know better. But yeah, you can actually like earn XRP for your F asset.
Yeah, because there's attestation providers, right? And so if you're providing that basically insurance, right, so that that person can have the confidence to bring over their XRP, right, to the Flare ledger and know that their XRP essentially won't be stolen because they don't have an amount of Flare to match them of XRP that they're bringing over, plus a fee to replace anything that, if for any reason you couldn't get the XRP back, you could just simply buy what you brought over immediately back. So it's the insurance kind of policy. So when you're onboarding that XRP for those attestation providers who are facilitating that insurance, there's a small fee for you to onboard onto Flare, and then that fee is distributed out, right, in rewards. So it is
okay.
a
That answers the question. Like with the stable coins, the first question is what's the collateral, right? And with the that are like paying you a return, it's like, if you're going to pay me 1%, where are you getting 2%? So that answers.
I think with this stablecoin conversation, because I was listening earlier, okay, we just have to be to the realization that there are a lot of people with probably good intentions that are trying different iterations of stablecoins for different reasons, right? Whether it's moving money, paying out, or what they call it, like financial inclusion, all those different things, right? A lot of people are putting their efforts into this. Ultimately, what I see happening from a personal standpoint, right? I don't claim to be right about everything, but just from my opinion, they're all going to pretty much be swallowed up by either a CBDC, right, or some of the what are they calling it, the USDC, right, kind of models, right, or bank issued models, right. And so, yes, a lot of these other attempts may exist on the peripherals, right, but I think if we just really boil down to where the majority of volume will be happening, right, it'll be either directly through a CBDC as it becomes available, because we don't know when that may happen for some of the major places like United States or Europe, but if not, they'll happen in kind of the USDC type of authorized models, and I think that'll swallow up the majority of volume for a lot of these attempts at building stable coins.
I mean, I think USDC is a monster, and I think they are going to swallow up the majority of the stablecoin space. It's interesting in the Euro coin now too. So I mean, they are spreading out. Circle is spreading out big investments. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out for sure. But I'm more interested in than just seeing just how the stablecoin plays out and how USD plays out, to see the relationship that the CBDCs and the stablecoins play with each other.
Right. And I think that's what we're really witnessing. And I've said this before, is that I'm pretty convinced, without having any inside knowledge, of course, so I'm speculating, but I'm pretty convinced that the CBDC designers, right, are really, really monitoring the data behind how this USDC is used, right? And then they're basically using that data to kind of, better the design and intent to how they want their CBDC to act, what the effects could be. Is it even worth doing? Like, I think all of what USDC is doing is giving them the data that is required for them to make these responsible decisions about how to design their CBDC. It's really what I think it's all about.
Yeah, I say this entire space is a proof of concept.
And what you're saying in the data, that's like kind of what we were saying before. So it will be made self-sustainable, that the AI will be the thing to trust and not any centralized body.
Yeah, here's one thing I want everybody to remember, though. I think the biggest thing that has happened with this crypto evolution is it has brought choice to the world. So a lot of times I don't want people to think in these, kind of linear kind of choices, right? It's going to be this big CBDC world. It's going to be this only Bitcoin world or whatever. I think it has brought choice to the world. And so I think that there'll be, again, like there'll be pockets of all of these. I won't say all of these things, because obviously a lot of the scam type shit, illegitimate stuff will go away. But as far as people making real solutions to real problems, right? There'll be iterations of all this that exist, and people use them however they're going to need to use them, right? And so you may hold a little of this because you're going to use it for that, right? Or you may hold a little bit of this just to mitigate risk from that, right? And there'll be all these different dynamics that may necessitate you not having a singular focus about any one denomination of value, whether it's a dollar state issue, right? Or whether it's a crypto issue, right? Because there'll be a need for all. I wouldn't want to be the person who has so much faith in a nation state currency, right? Thinking, oh, it'll always be there and it'll always, have its value, and then wake up overnight, right, and lose 90%, knowing that I had a choice to at least put some effort into holding an alternative so that if the inevitable happens, right, I'm not as stuck out. And I think we all need to start being responsible of not thinking singular focus, but prepare responsibly for any situation so that you're not part of the people who are going to be inevitably wrecked. We're never going to save everybody.
Yeah, and just to speak on that as well, yeah, I definitely agree with Kasha on that. Just because from like you think about from a technology standpoint, we like XRP and XLM and all of these other assets because of the cryptography behind it. The cryptography, that cybersecurity, that security that or that mindset you have of, hey, I'm going to avoid this danger with these assets because it's going to be able to maneuver around this network, whether the network is full of malicious actors or not. So it's making sure that, you have your own on and off ramps at the end of the day too.
I mean, just something like XDC focuses on something as simple as data protection. How many times do you know someone that's the highest bidder has paid for like information that's like you've paid for a mobile phone or a SIM number, and that SIM number someone business as enterprise has paid for that, and they've got your data without your knowledge. So all that kind of stuff, is going down the drain. That will not be allowed in this new era and this new system, which I think that's one of the positives.
Yeah, I think nation states, particularly like America, right? Some of the others, of course, right, are walking a fine line of trying to hold on to any resemblance of trust that they have left, right? Because if any, type of uncertainty above and beyond what we're facing now enters into the market, right, you only accelerate people's flight towards something else, right? And some people, based on their knowledge base, they may choose gold, precious metals, they may choose real, whatever their choice is. There's definitely going to be this acceleration away from the trust that nation states have established, or the lack of to this point, right? But if it certainly gets any worse, like I was saying before, we now have choices to run to, right? And I think, that's a very important thing. So it's just like, make sure that you're on both sides of the books in some capacity.
Well, definitely the economic structure of the way the world works is quickly changing, and yeah, positioning yourself in what I would call the right place to be is ever more important.
Sure, everybody in this chat's probably in the right, as much of a right place as they can be. I mean, I don't know everybody's personal situation. Maybe you got something else going on, but that's maybe a better opportunity. But I think you've got a burgeoning industry that's going to be massive. And as crazy as it sounds, after 10, 12 years, it's still actually early. I mean, I really do feel like crypto's sort of, at this point in time, crypto's sort of like internet circa 97, 8. I forget when the regulations came in. I think that was 98. I'm not sure. But, dude, this is a whole, I mean, I before the term internet of value became a thing, I actually used to say finance is getting its internet, right? But what I really meant by that was finance like adopted the internet, but you took it's a lipstick on a pig type thing. You took a bank, you changed nothing about their business model, and you just put on a lipstick on a pig and like, oh, here's a website. Oh, look, we're tech savvy. We have a website. Yeah, but you didn't like do any innovation. Now, finance is getting its internet. This is DeFi. And then the critical thing, I think, is to look at how, the more things change, the more they stay the same. So the natural inclination is to just try and copy previous business models, right? But I think the better way to approach stuff is look at what the purpose that business model was doing. Like, why were people engaging with that business model? What sort of functionality set were they trying to achieve? And then strip away the business model. Now you're just focused on here's what basically the customer needs. And then flip over to the crypto side and pick that toolkit up and say, oh, well, how can I solve this problem for this customer? How can I recreate this functionality? It's part of why I think Wednesday's chat's going to be really fun. There's a little bit of that going on with this project. But yeah, it's a way you approach a problem or a situation, or you got somebody that needs some help, right? So you want to go help them. Well, what's the best way to help them? You got a new toolkit, like the old toolkit's not working. Maybe the new toolkit can get the job done better, faster, cheaper. Ruck up with a new toolkit, understand this is where, what do the Ripple guys say? What do they say? Solve like a real problem or something along those lines. Like, dude, this makes all the sense in the world. Solve a
Yeah,
real problem.
you've often said that, man, and I think that is probably the bedrock of a lot of everything that this whole, crypto experiment, right, basically stands on. But I know everybody who may be listening to this may say, hey, I'm not a developer, I'm kind of not entrepreneurial, whatever, right? And there's a place for even, us who may not be at that capacity, right? So I'm just to kind of bring up a concept that I was thinking about recently, right? But what if we had something simple as kind of a XRP DAO, right? Community DAO that was just pooling liquidity. I was amazed that FTX was able to buy that, what was it, BlockFi for $25 million. Like,
well, Kashta, this just basically got, well, it was announced a little bit ago, but they finally put some documentation out. I haven't even fully read it all, for AMMs. So it's exactly what you just said.
yeah, and that's why I'm so encouraged about the developments that are going on with the ledger expanding. But as it's expanding, right, as a community, we need to be considering these opportunities because this bear market popped up pretty quick, right, like, as they often do. Ups are, real quick, and downs are take forever. But right at that point of the downturn, right, we see how much of the market was basically denominated in Bitcoin, and with the struggling price of Bitcoin correlated directly to the struggling price of all of these, platforms, et cetera, that were tied directly to the price of Bitcoin, right? So if we could, as a community, could have caught these assets in distress, right, I think it would have been a nice opportunity, that we could have capitalized on. So it's just really good to broaden out the perspective, right, of thinking of all of the different ways that we can use the asset, use the platform, in every different capacity, whether you're a developer, builder, entrepreneur, or just a shared stakeholder because you hold liquidity trapped in the same platform, right? So, yeah, I always want to speak to that whenever I come in because it's obvious opportunities that pass us by, and no one of us have a crystal ball to know the future. But if we make some preparations, I think that we can miss less opportunities as we go further.
All right, so this has nothing to do with anything with crypto, but Mike, I just let my cat outside because go do cat stuff. And there's a bird. It must have a nest in the tree here. I can hear it right now. I don't know if you guys can hear it. And my cat and this bird have like a week, 2 week long fight going on. This bird swoops my cat. It screams and yells at it. You can probably hear it. And it's kind of funny. And I know that has nothing to do with anything, but I open the door and I just let the cat go do whatever, hunt lizards or something. But this bird showed up a few weeks ago, and it is not having my cat's presence. It's one of those birds that swoop the crows, you know, with the little white dots on the wings. I'm not sure. I think it's a robin of some sort. I really don't know what the hell it is.
Speaking of animals, has anyone heard from Jimmy? I'm a bit concerned. I haven't heard from Jimmy for a while.
He still comes in and requests to speak all the time.
I do. I don't even think I've seen that. He's that usually a otter, right?
Now he changed his profile. It's a unicorn for the last like 2 months.
I think
right.
I actually think I saw him in here earlier. He didn't even request to speak, though.
Those are sparrows. They're probably dead.
What's that?
Go ahead, Death.
What? No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying those birds with the black dots, I think those are sparrows. And they fly really fast and they swoop down on things. So your cat's likely going to catch one.
Oh. Sorry, what were we go ahead?
I was just saying those are sparrows and your cat will likely catch one.
No, dude, my cat's scared of everything. This freaking cat. The odd thing is, I had a cat when I was younger, and it was like a beast, dude. He was the total alpha. He ran the dogs. When he walked through, the dogs got up and got out of his way. He would brought snakes, rabbits, birds, you name it, dude. I'm talking like some good 4-foot rattlesnakes, dude. They could have killed him. And this cat really looks exactly like my old cat, but it's just tiny. And it's freaking scared of everything. It literally just hides most of the day. And I'm like, dude, what's the problem? Like, you know, it's nothing you've never had. I mean, I did get it out of the tracks of a skid steer. So didn't have the best early life, but no, it's scared of everything, dude. It runs from that bird. It's really kind of funny to watch. It's like one part of the cat wants to look at the bird and go like after it, right? And then it like jumps up on the fence and like tries to go toward the bird, and then the bird swoops it and it runs away like it's just, dude, it's the biggest scaredy cat.
Well,
it literally looks
that.
Well, the fur pattern is like almost identical. Oh, I at first I was like, okay, this bird's gonna push its luck. I mean, and the cat's gonna do cat stuff, right?
Well, that's it. The bird will get cocky, right? The bird will get cocky and it'll get just too close, and one day that cat will get it.
Dude, it's already pulled tufts of fur out of the cat. I mean, it's swooping the cat. It ain't scared of the cat. And I think it's got, what I think's going on is I think it's got a nest in the tree here, and it's, defending its territory. And there's probably some baby birds up there because I can hear little chirps. It is springtime, I think that's what's going on, because this bird wasn't here a few weeks back, but it's definitely here every single day, and it's defending its turf. Castor, you got your hand up?
Yeah, the other day you spoke on this, and I wasn't able to speak because I was in a noisy environment doing some work. But I would like to kind of just quickly delve back into it in the sense that I definitely want to encourage the concept that was discussed and see if we can all agree that we can put some pressure on trying to get this to be built out over the next 2 years. And that is trying to assist with our local representatives, state representatives, and just grassroots efforts from the bottom up to ensure that by 2024, or if we missed the goal, at least as soon as we can, we insist that some blockchain technology is incorporated into our voting system so that we can ensure that there's opportunity for all to actually participate, right? So that would be something that would change, history, right? It should increase the participation, but it also be the first election that was guaranteed immutable and guaranteed to be, the authenticity of the results can be authenticated beyond anything we've ever seen before, right? So I know we always think about blockchain in this financial capacity, but I think we all should be able to agree that probably the most important use of that counting system and accountability is in having a fair democracy, right? And so I think we should all start putting some effort and towards, like I said, the grassroots efforts of, potentially advocating and building it, but also putting pressure on those who are sitting in these positions to also start entertaining and having the conversation about accountability. So I just wanted to get that in there today.
Yeah, I remember that part of that conversation, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's going to be a long time before that happens.
Yeah, one of the drawbacks I can only see with the current moment in time is that the older generation probably the technology would probably be too much for them to even comprehend doing something like that. But yeah, no, fair play. That's exactly what is needed.
That's a big deal. And when you say comprehend, let me try and rephrase that just a little bit, because when you think of these big, like, societal, like, systemic level systems, I guess, and systemic level, there's often very subtle aspects that can make a huge difference. And while I think, this is just a period, I mean, anybody can argue with me, that's fine, but I think these blockchain systems are tools for building trust. And the thing is, the older generation, like, they're not going to trust the technology. They already don't, like, trust email, right? I mean, how many decades has that been around?
Yeah, I try to be more optimistic, Karma, in that, like, here in the States at least, right? Like, I think most demographics have been exposed to going to voting and voting in these electronic voting machines, right? Particularly before COVID, when a lot of them got mailed out, right? Which kind of questioned the accountability through that whole mailing system. But yeah, I think they've been exposed to electronic voting booths and could, figure it out, right? I think we just shouldn't limit.
It should be doable, and I think it's a great idea. I really do. And I know what conversation you're talking about from a couple days ago. I know exactly what, I can see the video in my head about from 2013, like 14, whenever the hell that was. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think it's a good place to prove out federated Byzantine, agreement, the way that the consensus model is used by Ripple too, right? Because you could see where, parties, if you want to look at it as like Democrat or Republican, could be validators in that system. You could have, social ethnic groups who want to, collectively get together, run validators themselves, right? And you could spread that trust out to a point where we know that there's so much friction between those groups, there certainly never will be any collaboration, right? So I think that it's fascinating about the potential to actually get it done, right? And I give the devs, credit that they could come up with something that easy enough for everybody to understand and be able to, find their way through, using it, right? But again, we never know, but I think it's just something we should definitely start putting pressure on those people in seats when we have the opportunities to just say, at some point, acknowledge, right, while you're acknowledging all of the potential fraud that's associated with crypto and the speculation and all of these other financial things, right? Let's open up the conversation about getting that accountability into the democracy. So yeah.
Yep.
That's a great. Sorry, Death.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I just want. Sorry. Go ahead. I just wanted to say that we're coming up on that 2 hour mark, and if anybody in the audience would like to come up, if they have any questions or anything on the topics they'd like to ask that we've been speaking about, please feel free to hit the request now, so you can get that question answered fully, at least for you if you're wondering. But go ahead, Anonymous, and I think Gene also, you had your microphone unmuted.
I was just following up on Cash's comment there. It's a great opportunity to try and create something that will make the blockchain and the voting system more easily accessible to incorporate the older people with the current, voting system potential issues and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's entirely possible, but it's probably, a great opportunity to try and create something again using Web 2, Web 3 to make it easy accessible for the older generations to, get involved.
I was just going to mention, I mean, it is something we can do, like touching based on what you were saying, Kasha. It's more so if we're going to build something with the community, or as a community, we need to have our own like black box, in a sense, like to hold ourselves accountable. Like for instance, like when you have airplanes that travel from one end of the world to another, or one continent to another, if something happens to the airplane, we have that black box to go back to reference to what happened, what happened mechanically with this airplane in a sense, or with this aircraft for it to crash or for it to be faulty. So it we can do something like that. It's just we got to hold ourselves accountable and make sure we're using the right algorithms too in that sense. So for example, Edwards curve, ED25519. What's so awesome about it, and why XRP and XLM uses, because there's no back door for the NSA to just yank it from you. Like if they wanted to with all these other assets, if they could yank it from you, they could literally take it. Just like a back door for them being able to watch you through your TV if your TV has a camera. Don't think you're safe with the technology that you're holding either. So as
Ultimately going to be the best one. I think that if we really just open it up, like the evolution of open source and things like that, you get a consensus if you're not being superioristic or narcissistic, right, that gets in the way, that you kind of can get down to the best product, right, through consensus. And so a lot of times I just want to change the narrative so that people understand, right, that there's a need and there's a way, right? And once that understanding becomes belief, then I think ultimately the product designs itself, right? But it will have to start from getting people to understand the problem, understand that there's a solution, right? And then let the dynamics of the collective kind of do what it does.
So, Cash, I have an old saying. I call it think, know, believe. It's a process, right? So, first you think of something. Like, say, we'll use ledgerscale since this is still in the wayfinding process. So first you think and you're like, hey, I think that could work, right? I think there's a need for that. And then you think about it a lot, right? and then after you've thought about it enough, you kind of flush the idea out, to some degree, and you're like, yeah, like I know this can work. Like this is I know, like I can see based on the evidence and what I've looked at that this can, so I know. So think no is not step 2. Then you kind of just start doing it, right? And then you start to believe, and you're like, hey, this is actually working. Like people like this, like with my other company, like I just put it out there, man. I did no advertising, and somebody just bought stuff, and it was like, what? People have donated to the project here. Like it's like, what? Like you kind of, but then you start to believe, right? So it's a process. First, you have to think of something, then you gotta obviously think about it, right? Once you've thought about it enough, then you kind of know, like, okay, this this is reasonable. This makes some sense. And then it happened, and then things start happening, and then you kind of believe in it, and then you it's a process. It's an old saying of mine that it's when it's something I just kind of made myself, like talking to myself, like trying to encourage myself, right? Like trying to understand, like, okay, am I at the think stage? Am I at the, like, nah, I know this is going to work. Like, this definitely makes sense. Or am I at the, oh, look, I believe, like, this is happening, right? It's a process.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I definitely agree. I just don't want people to, like, I think we all know, right? We'll just use the 2024 election as an example, not to be political at all. I'm going to bring this back to tech, but we all can see the potential for disaster in the next national election, right? And that if the results are questioned in any way off the heels of what we had previously with the January 6th situation, right? It breaks at the whole fabric of the trust that, we're also talking about distributing through the use of the technology, right? Building trust, right? And so we can't all sit around when 2024 comes, right? Then something terrible happens and then says, oh man, that's crazy, right? Because I think all of us are acknowledgement 2 years ahead of time that the potential sits out there looming. So let's not, just sit on our hands and ignore it. Let's try to build something to mitigate that risk, right? And that's kind of what, and that applies to not just that scenario, right? It applies back to what I said about financial catastrophes looming over, right? Debt looming, right? And all of these other things that are out there looming, right? Let's have these conversations to figure out what is the best way we can get a little bit on the table to mitigate from some of the most probable potential downfalls, right? If it's, if the probability of it is just beyond, some rational, expectability, right? We can kind of push that to the side, right? But if it does have some real probability of rearing its head, right, in the near future, right, then let's figure out how to collectively put a little bit of effort to the side and mitigate these potential downfalls.
Well said. Does it show karma up here for you guys?
Yeah, yeah.
I think he might have accidentally got dropped, but I'll end it. Anyway, though, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. Thank you for everybody who comes out every single day. I should really say we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for everybody who watches these and finds these valuable. But if you could, give us a follow at ledgerscale on Twitter. Turn your notifications on so you know when we are going live. We do these Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow. Love you guys.